Hello everyone, and welcome to my Days of Our Lives official. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Paulina, the mayor, came to Rafe's hospital room and made a demand that he wake up. When Rafe opened his eyes and stirred, she gasped. "That really worked," remarked a wide-eyed Paulina. Rafe was unable to react because of the tube down his throat, so she stopped talking to him before she could say anything else. She hurried to grab Kayla after telling Rafe to stay awake. Melinda fought her bindings inside Connie's apartment. Jada introduced herself to Connie by knocking on the door outside the flat. She opened the door after noticing it was unlocked. When Jada entered the flat, it appeared to be empty. She cried out once again before making her way through the apartment and arriving at the closed door of the room that Melinda was being held captive in. Jada got a call from Paulina before she could open the door, telling her with great excitement that Rafe had woken up. Jada hurried out of the apartment. Gabi boasted to Connie about how great her life had been in the Gabi chic office. Connie pushed away from a distracted Gabi, forcing a grin. Pulling out a knife, Connie turned her back and whispered, "Not for long, slut." The phone rang as she began to stalk Gabi while holding the knife behind her back. After answering, Gabi told Connie that she had to locate Melinda Trask immediately and hung up. Telling a bewildered Gabi that Melinda had taken a leave of absence, Connie lied. Gabi worried over what she was going to do. However, after Paulina called to let her know that Rafe had woken up, Gabi's attitude significantly changed. To Connie's dismay, she cheerfully informed her of the news and hurriedly disappeared. Melinda was crying when Connie returned to the flat later. She stared at the smiling cardboard cutout and snarked that at least Lee had given her a smile. After taking out Melinda's gag and explaining that Rafe's unannounced awakening had interfered with her plan, Connie had to head back home early. Melinda believed Connie could be panicking, but she was happy with the development. Rafe had not seen his attacker, Connie informed Melinda, scoffing at the suggestion. Melinda argued that Connie appeared anxious even now. In reference to Gabi, Connie acknowledged that she was bothered by the fact that floozy is on cloud 9. Connie told Melinda, who was amused, about her botched plan of retaliation against Gabi. With a gloomy attitude, Connie said there was just one more way to get Gabi to pay. Melinda's smile vanished when Connie went toward the bed while brandishing the knife. Later, Kayla went into Rafe's room, checked him out, and took out his tube. He moaned in agony and she pushed him to slow down. He made it to the question of what had become of him. Rafe received an update from Kayla on his health and the tests that had been performed on him. Rafe was relieved to see Jada as she rushed into the room and gave him a hug. Later, Jada sat with Rafe and told him how happy she was to have him back. Soon later, Gabi came to visit and she and her brother had a heartfelt reconciliation. Still curious about what had happened to him, Jada and Gabi gently questioned Rafe about whether he remembered being attacked at the cemetery. Rafe remembered that he was talking to Paulina on the phone when he suddenly started to feel discomfort in his back. But the individual who had attacked him was a stranger to him. When Gabi and Jada explained that Bobby had been named as the attacker and that he had seemingly committed himself, Rafe was taken aback. Jada gave him a skeptical glance as he implied that the story was finished. Later, Jada emphasized that she would continue to spoil Rafe while he healed and assisted him in eating. She informed him about a high-profile hit-and-run case and her nomination as commissioner in response to his request for information on the police department. Abruptly, Rafe remembered hearing a woman mention something about an open grave, but he chose not to tell Jada. Paulina and Kayla were relieved by the turn of events outside Rafe's room. Rafe's test results had been encouraging, according to Kayla. She did not anticipate any issues or long-term consequences from his coma. Chad went up to Stephanie at the park and expressed his regret for being late for Everett's memorial because he had taken the kids for their first day of school. After clarifying that she and Jada had already dispersed Everett's ashes, Stephanie showed that she understood. Given that she and Jada had known Everett the longest, she thought it fitting. Stephanie expressed her confusion over the response she had gotten from Connie, Everett's purported buddy. Stephanie explained the miscommunication by saying that either Leo misspoke or Everett had lied once more. Chad acknowledged that Stephanie had had a difficult day and expressed sadness that there had not been more people at the memorial. She understood the challenge, but thought Chad was also having a hard time getting ready for the kids' first day in school without Abigail. Chad and Stephanie hoped Thomas and Charlotte's situation would improve quickly and that the children would genuinely get their mother returned. When Chad asked how Stephanie's meeting with Abigail had gone, Stephanie said it had gone well. Although Stephanie had entertained Abigail with tales of the cousins' childhood exploits, she thought one aspect of the conversation was peculiar. As Stephanie informed Chad about Abigail's allegation that she had been speaking with Kayla over the phone, Chad listened. Although Stephanie had accepted the narrative at first, Kayla had subsequently denied it. Chad said that Abigail was confused about the mix-up. With hesitation, Stephanie brought up the idea that Abigail might not have been telling the truth. Chad scoffed at the idea and spoke up for Abigail. Stephanie recoiled and accepted Chad's claim that Abigail was merely confused. Furthermore, Stephanie was unable to respond when asked with whoever else Abigail might have discussed a plan. Stephanie was hopeful that things with Chad and Abigail would get better in due course. Stephen Nichols, questioned Annalyn McCord's character Abigail. Abigail, Annalyn McCord, was questioned by Stephen Nichols. Abigail had a conversation with Stefano's portrait at the DiMera mansion. She acknowledged that she should not have lied to Chad, but she insisted that she was following her own path. She went on to say that, for her and her brother as well as for Stefano, family meant everything. Steve startled Abigail by walking into the room. She leaped from the couch, and he expressed regret for upsetting her. Following his explanation of his identity to Abigail, Steve inquired as to her meaning regarding her brother and family. She stated that she had been discussing the deep bond with her brother that she had been informed she shared. When Abigail expressed that she was having trouble remembering all the names, Steve brought up JJ and mentioned his friend Abe's recent encounter with amnesia. As he had done with Abe, he assured Abigail that he would assist her. Steve then brought up Abigail's claim that she and Kayla had been collaborating on a treatment plan. If that were true, Steve thought it was a terrific idea. Steve relayed Kayla's claim that she hadn't talked to Abigail the day before. Abigail attempted to justify the disparity by citing patient/doctor confidentiality, but Steve was not persuaded. Then she tried to let Steve understand how confused and disoriented she was. Steve said that he could identify, having gone through a similar experience when he thought he was that guy on the wall. Steve was reluctant to discuss specifics, particularly after Abigail expressed surprise. Steve admitted, glancing at Abigail, that although he had felt like a different person at that moment, he had come to the realization that he had never been Stefano. Steve said that it had been a hell of a lot more than strange for everyone else, but Abigail thought the scenario had to be strange for him. Even Abigail's mother doubted her, and Abigail could understand why. Steve conceded that hearing Jennifer's response must have been unpleasant, but he justified it by saying it was a normal reaction to being asked to believe the unbelievable. After advising Abigail to speak with Kayla over a treatment strategy, Steve bid her farewell and walked away. Abigail said Uncle Steve could be a problem as she cautiously glanced at Stefano's portrait following Steve's departure.